Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today's lesson is about transforming your sketching skills fast, and I'm going to be explaining some of the techniques that I use in order to transform your skills. I also want to mention today's sponsor, Woomer pencils. These colored pencils are amazing, but before I get into more detail about Woomer in just a couple of minutes, I do want to stress that today's lesson, these things that I'm going to be talking about can be accomplished pretty quickly. It's just about having the right mindset and sitting down with a specific time frame in mind in your day and actually drawing. And I know a lot of the stuff that I talk about on this channel, it might seem daunting. Like there's no way I would ever have time to do that. And the thing is, even if it's just for 20 minutes a day, that's 20 minutes more you're spending to getting better than putting 0 minutes into it. Okay, so today's subject, getting better quickly with drawing with just a couple of techniques. When you first start out in drawing, there are 3 main things to think about: perspective, proportion, and anatomy. All right, these are building blocks to pretty much anything you're going to be drawing. Now what I'm drawing here, I'm using Woomer's bluish turquoise pencil. This is a beautiful pencil here. And you know, I need to be doing more videos with colored pencil anyway, so thank you all for tuning in. When you think about perspective, proportion, anatomy, and the building blocks of drawing, once you master them, you'll be amazed at how quickly your skills improve. I remember in school, I would do a lot of contour drawing, just contour lines, no shading. Nothing like that. You can see here that I'm just lightly placing in some shapes here and some lines, some gestural sketches, and gesture is one of the things that I want to talk about today, and I'm going to show you how to do that effectively. I'm making a very bulbous spaceship, so we'll see how this goes. Okay, so back to today's sponsor, Woomer. You're probably wondering, who is it, what is it, and what do they offer? So let's get into some details on why Woomer is so special. Woomer colored pencils are honestly some of the best colored pencils I've ever used. It comes with a color card, so you just slip the lid off and turn it around. You have a very good array of rich colors, and these do rival many of the other big brands out there. I've been using Woomer for a couple weeks now just to test out the art, and I have to say it's wonderful. Something else I would like to mention for the sleeve is if you look on the back of the sleeve, you can take scissors and cut it, or you can pull it apart. You'll have what's called the color card. It shows all the 72 colors, and you can see here that I started to color them in. So this card is for your own peace of mind if you want to see what all of the colors look like that you own. And then it also gives a nice little chart depending on the light fastness of each pencil. So if you don't know what light fastness is, it's the durability of the pigments withstanding light over time. So how well the pigments show up no matter what kind of light is, being exposed onto your drawings. These colored pencils, when you view them, very, very vibrant. They were also sun tested, so the colors even stay rich in direct sunlight, and they will never fade, which is it's a beautiful thing. So you can see all these little colors. Some of the colors are mixed up over here just because I've been using them. But you can take any of them out, and the quality of the wrapping of the pencil, very good. The wax, very solid, and it doesn't break easy at all. I sharpen these quite a bit, and the blue that I was using, I was also sharpening. I'll show you this in a sec. So this one, I noticed that when I was sharpening that one, which is the, the bluish turquoise, nothing chipped. They haven't broken yet, and the tips, even though they're wax, which is a problem with a lot of wax colored pencils, the tips will break. These haven't broken yet. So it's a very good thing. So I do want to go back to the color card here. They have a really nice graphic layout of the actual color card. Colors are very easy to blend. It's a 3.8 millimeter soft core, break resistant lead, and wide range of colors. And they're also very richly saturated pigments. And if you got some colored pencils with you, I would I would definitely advise try these techniques that I'm going to teach you. It doesn't really matter what colors you're going to use. It's just a matter of sketching with it, using gestural marks, and to see where the sketch ends up. Towards the end of this video and this lesson, I do want to mention a very special link that you can get for an 8% discount on Woomer pencils. So I want to thank Woomer again for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back into the sketch. So jumping back into this sketch here, I know I've been mentioning just some things to start with, like gestural sketching, proportion, anatomy. I want to talk more about the gesture part because I've been mentioning this in a lot of my videos, and if you want to improve quickly at art, gesture sketching is probably the most important because this is the most freeing for your mind so that you're not obsessing about making everything perfect. And you've probably heard this before. I've said this many, many times throughout different lessons, but when you do thumbnail sketching, I love the smoothest of these colored pencils, by the way. This is probably the most I've used these pencils in a test run. I'm already loving it, so good job, Woomer. So when you're doing gesture sketches, oh, did you see what I just did? That's a total mistake. Actually, it's not a mistake. It's a happy accident. I totally did not mean to do that. Let's see if we can use that because you can't really erase colored pencil. So you just witnessed that in real time. I'm not going to edit it out. Let's see what happens. So maybe we can use this to our advantage. Okay, I'll have to lightly sketch in a center line for the little ship. It's a very bulbous ship. Kind of cool. There we go. I'm also sitting up straight just to make sure that my perspective is not skewed by me leaning over or having bad posture. That's probably like a bonus tip that I could give you today. Bad posture. Increase your posture. Well, no, don't increase your posture. Correct your posture so that way you become better faster. Please don't quote me on that because that was totally impromptu and that was probably coming out horribly. Okay, but gesture sketches and releasing the tension that your brain may be causing you. So if you want to get better fast at drawing, gesturing is very important because it frees your mind, like I said, but also if you're going to start to form shapes that you didn't know you were possible of creating. We all have those specific shapes in mind that we go to, okay, no matter what it is. You can see my transportation side coming out. Plus this reminds me so much of sketching with an indigo blue pencil, and I love it. I should probably do more of it. The gesture part frees your mind, allows you to make shapes that you're normally not used to or accustomed to. And when you combine those, it's freeing because how many times have you drawn something and you're telling yourself, I keep drawing the same thing over and over. Those aspiring concept artists out there, have you ever done a design sheet where you have 5, 6, 7, maybe a dozen thumbnails and all the thumbnails look the same? Yeah, that's exactly it. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm just allowing the speed of the sketch to dictate what I'm actually putting in there. Will all these shapes work? I don't know. But a good trick in industrial design, those of you that know about drawing through your object, when you draw through your object, it allows your brain to see what you're drawing in 3D, which is ultimately what you want. Because at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to have to pass this on to the 3D department anyway, and they're going to have to sculpt it. And if you're not envisioning this correctly in 3D, then you can't rely on a 3D artist to just invent the stuff for you. Otherwise, you didn't do your job as a concept artist. When I was first starting out in this industry, I did that. I'm admitting it. And the problem with that is when you expect somebody else to design what you're supposed to design, vision gets skewed. Not physical vision, but the idea that you had gets skewed. And it doesn't become the original concept anymore. Okay, but by gesturing, and not really caring about where lines go. You can see my line weight is very light, and my line quality is still good because of the swiftness of my lines. I'm confidently placing the lines, and I'm starting dark, and I'm releasing pressure throughout the stroke to go lighter as I finish. You can even do this while drawing cubes in perspective and have it look amazing. Okay, so there I kind of know that there's going to be some shading. Not too worried about that area. I'm doing small little circles. All right, and again, this is, I'm reiterating the importance of gesture sketching and developing muscle memory and improving your skills quickly. Don't be afraid to experiment and try new things. Okay, like I'm doing colored pencils today. Colored pencils is phenomenal to try because you still get to draw with it. So let's say you're technically proficient in drawing, but you've only stuck with graphite. Well, those drawing skills tend to translate in other mediums as well. For example, if you've never touched ZBrush or Blender before, you've never sculpted, but you're a pretty good artist, chances are your sculpting skills will be evident right away because of your ability to draw in 2D and see objects like this in your head. So you can present it pretty well. And you can see here I'm very lightly placing certain lines around the shape just to see what's going to happen. It also kind of looks like a fat bird. That was unplanned. Maybe it's a fat bird ship. Let's just do that. We'll call it the fat bird. There we go. Because there are some birds that look like this, actually. As a matter of fact, if we do that, why don't we put the indication of a beak right there. I got to make sure that's in perspective. Just those little bits can be off. So this could be like the door. I don't know what's happening. I got to sharpen my pencil again, that's for sure. All right, that's sharp. If I move this up, you'll be able to see the gesture lines coming down and me just drawing through it. I'm starting to think that maybe these lines coming out can be the ship's steering system, maybe. What I love about Woomer pencils, I can tell from the first, 10 minutes of using this, is it goes on very smooth, but the wax is really hard. And you guys have seen that nothing has broken off, sharp tip even now. So when I'm starting to sketch with it, nothing is breaking. This is great. And I'm actually pushing kind of hard. So that's really good. And the blue is showing up very well too. Let me try to switch to another blue, a different kind of blue. Let's go a little part. So this one is called Ocean Blue. Ooh. All right. It's almost kind of purple for me, but that's neat. So let's mix some Ocean Blue in with the dark lines up here, and I'm already liking it. So maybe in here, since the tone is a little different, I'm going to push a little harder and fade that off into the blue that I got, and I'm going to get a really cool effect here. Okay. Almost purple-like. Now, when I apply these gesture lines, I'm confident in certain shapes. That's why some of them are getting darker. For example, the underbelly of any shape that's coming out is going to get a darker treatment due to the light source being above, and I know that that's going to be where the shadow is located without me having to shade it. So that's okay. I think I'm going to come back to the Ocean Blue. I don't want to go overboard with it. I want to keep this as monochromatic as possible. Okay, so I'm just going to keep that over there, and then I'm going to go back to the bluish turquoise. Another way that you could improve your art very quickly is setting up a specific time every day that you can draw. Now, these windows of time, they don't have to be super long. Some people have hours to spare. Other people may only have about 20 minutes. So it's whatever you can get around to actually doing, and uninterrupted. It's difficult, I know. A lot of us have lives. We have children, we have household duties, when we get home, especially after a hard day's work and we're already tired. We just don't have the energy to actually draw or do anything other than sit on the couch, chill, watch some TV, watch some Netflix, hang out with the children, read with them, draw with them. I totally understand. One of the most inspirational people I've ever listened to is Tony Robbins. So those of you who know who Tony Robbins is, you know that when he first started hustling, decades ago, before he got to who he is today, he would have a 9-to-5 job, and then when he would come home, he would spend about 3 to 4 hours a night after everybody was in bed. We're talking up until, 2 in the morning, I believe he said, on his side hustle, which then turned into his consulting business, and he exploded from there. Maybe that's something that you all can do too. Even if it's 20 minutes a day. You have a 20-minute window, even if you have a family, or if you're not really confident that you actually have time to put towards it. Give yourself 20 minutes a day, minimum, and then see what happens. If you're having a troubled area within your drawing, like let's say perspective, or your shading isn't all that great, only practice shading. The saying, there's a reason why practice makes perfect. I actually think it's not a good saying. It's perfect practice makes perfect. You could most certainly practice the wrong things. Okay, so for example, think about how many times as an artist we start to look at everything. We want to do everything. Vehicles, cars, characters, creatures, environments. We never really hone our skills in any one area because we don't really dig deep and practice just that one thing and get good at it. I'm not saying niche down in it. You don't have to do that. But if you get really good at one thing, then those skills transfer over to other areas. So let's say, for instance, you want to be able to sketch something super detailed, and you could see all this stuff on ArtStation, like heavily rendered images and shading and all that, and you're just like, I can never get to that level. So what do? You start trying to draw that stuff, but you're not practicing the right thing. Those artists that posted that drew the cubes, cones, cylinders, and spheres. They did that, and it's showing through their shape language when they draw. You could see the cylinders that I'm putting in here. Okay, you can see the spheres. You could see some of the triangular shapes. Cubes, not so much. This is more bulbous than anything. But if you want to talk about perspective, it can definitely fit inside a perspective box if I were to draw on the outside of this. Hopefully you can get the point that I'm trying to make. It's when you start practicing the very things that you need to practice versus the things that you want to practice. Because what happens is, if you don't improve quickly, you actually take forever to improve at drawing if you just keep practicing the same thing over and over again and not getting better at it. We've all been there. We've all tried to get good at something and take shortcuts, and it's just not going to work. These pencils are very, very smooth. I'm loving it. And the other great thing about colored pencils, when you shade with them, the space in which each stroke takes up is far greater than a graphite pencil. So that means, like, even when you go in two different directions, you start shading, it's already filling a lot of the white gaps, so you won't see as much of the paper underneath. Since this is hard surface, whenever you're sketching hard surface, more than organics, whenever you're sketching hard surface, you have to make everything smooth throughout. If you stop and then you try to mimic that smoothness again, it's going to look like there's an indent. That's just not going to cut it. So, like, for example, I'm assuming that this thing is probably going to be a wing. Let's do that. Let's make these lines poke out. You can see how I just loosened up the line as I went out like this. That's probably going to be a wing. Okay, because remember, this is our fat bird. There we go. It's like a little reconnaissance bird. Okay. But what I was saying is, if I wanted to shade across, let's say, this part of the wing, then when I take my pencil and I shade, I'm not going to be able to stop the entire time. You're going to lose that consistency as you run across that surface. Okay, and I've gone over this many times in my shading techniques throughout my videos. There we go, right like that. Okay, and there's a really nice texture there. So now it's pretty nice. And I can add in the core shadow of where the metal starts to bend around the edge, and I want to stay consistent and I don't want to stop. I'm going to make that come all the way up, fade that off, and I'm going to do it again. Try to go the contour of the wing as best as I can. You can start to see that slight core shadow happening. And you could take the side of your pencil and you can run it across that area where you just shaded, and you'll get something cool. These types of drawings to me are the most fun to do, even more than my 10 to 15 hour illustrations, because like anything goes, guys. Seriously, if I have a lightly shaded area and I'm like, you know what, I want a panel to be on that wing. Well, I'm just going to do a panel, make sure I go the contour of it. I'm going to flick my wrist like this. So you want the line quality to show up. I don't want to sit there and have to worry about every single line being perfect, because this way I can just let my mind wander. Let's see what happens. Because quite frankly, this thing is not perfect. This ship is not perfect. It's not going to be. I mean, for crying out loud, it's named Fatbird. What kind of ship is going to be perfect by naming it Fatbird? I don't know. And all the lighter lines that I'm putting in here, those can be more for texture and depth. When I think about all the spaceships you've seen in games and movies, you know, the smaller details is what brings out the realism of it. When you bring out, when it has less detail and you're trying to do a ship, that's why it looks like a toy. Same thing with a character. If you're trying to draw a mech, you want to put in those little details. You'll get to that detailed point eventually, okay? But with the gesture sketches, you at least get the large shapes in first, and then you can start working it. Okay. By incorporating these techniques into your daily practice, you'll be amazed at how quickly your sketching skills improve. You'll start to see the world in a new way, and your drawings will hopefully become more confident and expressive. Okay, so if you want to transform your sketching skills very quickly, please do these. And I do want to mention today's sponsor again, Woomer. I want to thank them for, you know, allowing me to use their color pencils and to show you guys just how good they are. The link in the description and the first link in the pinned comment, that is a discount of 8% to anybody that wants to use this. I definitely recommend doing it. You only have 30 days from the time this day is posted. Okay, so take advantage of that link. Okay, first link in the description, first link in the pinned comment. I also want to mention our Creature Design Workshop Discord. Our Creature Design Workshop Discord is a bustling community, and this community is full of not just creature designers, but like-minded aspiring concept artists that want to get better at their craft and learn how to draw better. There's forums in there specifically for showing us your work in progress, asking for critiques, looking at reference. There's a huge reference cache, and we're revamping that weekly, and people are posting new reference in there. It's a really, really great place to be. And also my Creature Design Workshop that I start at the beginning of every month, so if you want to sign up, then please do. Okay, I like to cap the rooms at about 8 to 10 people, so those fill up really quickly. So again, before I sign off here, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Hopefully you've liked the display of the colored pencils. There's a lot of vibrant colors here that you could definitely use. They're sun tested, which is amazing. You can check the website for all those details. The colors are rich, they sharpen very well. It feels good in the hand when you use them. And also, when you purchase the Woomer colored pencils, don't get rid of this, okay? You turn the color card over and you can see all the colors with all of their coding right here, okay? And then it shows you just how large it is, you know, 3.8 millimeter soft core. They're easy to blend. Really, really great stuff. Thanks again, Woomer, for sponsoring today's video. I want to thank you all for stopping by for this Fatbird ship sketch. And I will see you all next time. Peace.